are there any potential candidates who would be affected by, districts? We know the issue is about.
It's always been about two.
Right, we know that, but are there any potential candidates that would be affected by?
You're asking something over my head. There's 60 candidates. I don't know where they live. And if you go on the Election Commission's website, they will tell you who they are. They don't put their addresses in what districts they're in. I don't know. When I make the change, I'll try to find out.
All right, Collins, Boyd, and Fully Love. And before we get to Collins, let me say this. Mr. Wade?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem with calling Terry out of retirement to see if he's willing to work with you as a consultant on a short-term basis to help with this.
Because he knows where all the files are. I don't.
Exactly. Because he has the expertise to help you, and we'll do that. All right, Mr. Collins, Mr. Boyd, Ms. Fully Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councilwoman Talbot and Councilman Ford were along the same lines I was headed. One in particular, which is Thursday is the filing deadline and the withdrawal deadline. And I think that this body needs to probably make a decision on those persons that it might affect. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Wade, hopefully for some instructions for us, because we don't want to be put in a position where we are looked at as if we have manipulated something or concoct a conspiracy to do something. And for all fairness, and now the buzzword in this community is being transparent, we want to be as transparent as possible. So I hope that we can have something by the end of the day that this council can act on. I think that's where Dr. Ford was headed. Yes. I'm not sure. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. The second part to this is Miss Halbert was headed down the road that I thought that, and I still believe might be beneficial for us now going forward. And I think I just heard the chatter, and I'm not sure, is perhaps it might be time for us to look at going to 13 single districts. Mm-hmm. And so if that's the case, while we have the fire, it might be good for us to draw up the ordinance now and then get it before the voters maybe in the spring primary or whenever
next election would be 16.
So, okay, so then we got enough time to explain for everybody, whatever the case may be. But I think that it might be time for us to go ahead and do that as well, considering, as you said, the General Assembly has fixed annexation. And the only thing left now is de-annexation. And if we have these 13 single districts in place now versus the 2 super districts, it may help facilitate lesser work for you or bringing Mr. Langlois out of retirement. So I would, Mr. Chairman, that might be something that this council can do before December so that we can have it in place and put before the voters to leave so that the new council coming in on January 1 wouldn't have to worry about that issue. And so I think that's a little work, but it probably needs to get done. And so hopefully, Mr. Wade, number one, can you advise this council on what we could do pending Thursday's withdrawal deadline and there are candidates in limbo? And then secondly, which is after Thursday, preparing an ordinance such that we can do 13 single districts.
Yeah, I think based on where I am now, there are probably being very few moves. And I believe most of these would be coming into your district. I believe that, I don't know, I'd have to look at the addresses, but I would be surprised if there are more than one, maybe only two. Now, but then remember, the one, I got a call, Carol Chumney, saying she was representing Miss Knox. And wanted to sue us, and I said, okay, whatever. But, I said, whatever. I think, you know, the move that move was talking about moving that precinct in the fourth. And the conventional wisdom is that precinct would be, I mean, we do have an African-American woman that have been elected from that precinct. That an African-American would have a greater chance of winning that one than two, but I don't know that that's going to be a move that would be made. It probably would be the ideal move for demographic purposes, but I don't think that's one that's going to happen. So if that's the one that's making the most noise, I'll probably dismiss it.
All right, Mr. Boyd, Ms. Fullilove, and then we'll hear from Ms. Knox briefly. Bill Boyd. No. The other Mr. Boyd.
Councilwoman Howard, I recall in the year 2007 when we were all running, most of us, and took office January 2008. In 2007, I'd been out there campaigning 2 or 3 months when I learned that 2 of the precincts have been going door to door, but not even in my district. At the last minute,
They were in my district.
60, but it was like, I'm gonna say 2.5, 3 months before election day.
I remember that.
So that happens, I guess, coming from the election commission. On the split precincts, that's an awful lot, consolidated precincts as well. Is that mainly brought about, does a state set state districts have a big effect on that split precinct?
Yeah. When we did the 2000, after the 2010 census, we had a number of precincts that were in the city, in the county. And so our number, population that we came up, if we counted all of the districts, was about 50,000 more than the Census Bureau said was in the city. And so you had to go in and cull all that out. And so I think ours is pretty accurate. Now, you know, just listening to, the easiest way to do this, and probably the best way to do it, to keep it current without having to go through a lot of, you'd have to test it periodically. But if we went on maps, we pretty much could do this very easily, because we wouldn't have to change our ordinance to identify each and every precinct that's in each and every district. That's the problem. When they change the names and locations, you have to translate all those different 400 precincts into their terminology.
In a location, physical location of a precinct, you say split precinct, you go in that booth and maybe get 2 different ballots, so to speak,
Yeah.
depending on where.
If you had in the South Cordova, Southwind Windike, for example, there are, in those 2 precincts, there are 5 split precincts. They all vote at the same location. 2 of those 5 are in the city, 3 of them in the county. But I have one number for that precinct, and I have to divide that one number among those 5 components. That's the kind of problem that you have. It's not like snapping my finger and then coming up with something else.
I can see confusion going to that one location.
Now, I would tell you, I looked at some district